All right, we are ready. Are you ready? Are you steady? Got your questionnaire?
You got it, right?
Yeah, I got it.
Because I'm like, I don't got nothing.
36 years old. You met this man when you was a young girl, fresh out of college.
Yeah, I was fresh out of college. Yeah.
So we have my former co-host now as a guest on Views of an Ex. Now, for the people that's watching this, she's been begging to come on this podcast.
What?
Like, on her knees, begging to come on this podcast to tell a story. But when she wanted to tell a story, it was about 3 years ago, right? You was fresh out of this relationship.
3.5 years ago at this point, but yeah.
And you was dying to tell a story.
I wanted to tell the story so bad.
And I was like, no, like you're fresh out, you're heated. I felt the tension. I felt everything you was going through.
You were right. You were absolutely right.
And I was like, no, just take some time, heal, and then tell your story.
Yeah. And
he was like, no, I got to tell you this. And I'm like, we'll hear it, but
not yet,
just take the time.
Yeah. You were absolutely right. So.
You got mad at me.
I was mad. Well, I would no, but that wasn't like the whole story. It was, I forgot. There was like something specific. I don't even fully remember.
Yeah. Because I know going through a breakup.
You were talking, no, I was mad because you were saying, you were like, you didn't want me to be bashing him, which I wasn't going to make it about bashing him. I was going to just be honest. But I didn't have the full perspective that I have now about even why I was in that experience and all that shit. So like, I can curse on here, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I remember. So yeah, at the time, I would have been missing what I would have needed to also tell for it to actually be a wholesome story, and one that's like beneficial for somebody else.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like it would have, you're right, it would have just been mostly like black and white, like this thing happened. No, and don't get me wrong, like I definitely had an understanding of the full scope of it in terms of why I had that experience from a certain perspective, but I was still missing a lot of information for myself then. So,
and you changed as a person. You're not the
absolutely.
Same, you're not the same Shanelle 3 years ago. So I wanted you to experience that, like, because with this podcast is about how you coped and healed from the breakup. You ain't have no coping and healing like that.
It was
So you was fresh out.
It was like right after. I was
so
just
I was like, nah, like not yet. So we're here 3.5 years later, and we finally are able to tell a story.
Yeah.
Now, after college, we went to college together, but after we reconnected and at an art show, and that's when I first met both of you guys.
Well, no, so we reconnected because you used to periodically text people and you're like, hey, you still got the same number?
In person?
So in person,
like,
it was probably somebody's event or something. Yeah, okay, I see. Yeah.
So in person, where we reconnected was a show that he had. But before we start, we got to, introduce the show. Who am I talking to?
Okay.
If you're a day one listener, you should know who I'm talking to. This is Shanelle, who's the co-host on this podcast from like early on.
From the beginning, like the first few episodes or something.
And then she disappeared. We talked about that on Patreon.
Yeah.
And then she came back. Yes. But tell people a little bit more about yourself.
Well, now I'm telling you like the fast forwarded. I'm looking at you, right? I'm telling you the fast forwarded version. So I'm an artist. I'm on the path of being a full-time artist, but yeah, I'm an artist. I do a myriad of other things, but yeah, so I draw, I work with marker, digital, I sell NFTs, all that stuff. I'm actually about to go out to Art Basel in Miami, which is next month, which is 2 weeks actually. So I'm like real pressed, and I forgot that I like booked this for this weekend. I was like, oh shoot, but I'm like, there's a reason that I'm having this like full circle moment while I'm doing something that I wasn't even doing back then. So that's mostly it.
Yeah, we got your artwork in the back. Look,
we do. Yeah,
I'm gonna keep it in the studio.
It
fits the studio. Fits the vibe.
I got you.
I love it. But we had to talk about an ex, and before we start, we gotta give this ex a fake name so he can't sue us. And I don't know, I don't know how he is. I thought he was a nice guy, but we're gonna hear otherwise.
I mean, hey,
So
we'll get there.
If he walked up in this studio, how would he look? How would he dressed? We gotta give him a fake name.
Oh God, damn, this is mad triggering. Okay, so just physically we talking about. So he was fairly tall, above average for men out here. So he was like about 6 feet, 6'1".
All right.
He had gotten more and more emaciated throughout the relationship, but yeah, he was slim. he always had like eccentric. He was a music artist,
Yeah.
made music, so he was very much like eccentric looking.
Right,
so
right.
you wouldn't see him and not know that he did some shit that was different, basically.
Yeah.
So yeah, like a lot of colors, a lot of patterns,
Yep.
a lot of layers. Always a hat, because his hair was going from back then, and he was in denial about it. He kept insisting one day he was gonna get locks, and I was just like, bro, like
It's not growing.
we really gotta. Okay, and then at some point I was like, I'm gonna get locks for the team. I'm gonna take one. Because it's not coming from you, but whatever.
Right.
It is what it is. It's fine.
Yeah.
He had hats on. That's my point.
Slender. He was.
He's Haitian. He was born in Haiti, and that was a big thing for him.
Would you say he dressed like a Haitian?
What, like the jokes back in the day when
Like
people would say, no, I mean,
Yeah.
no, I think that stuff is ignorant. But no, he just dressed. He dressed different. Like that was a part of his whole scheme when he would meet people. He wanted to look like not somebody you met before. So yeah, that's the best I could put it.
I had a name.
Okay.
Malcolm.
Malcolm.
That just sounds like, because
my God,
I seen him.
Malcolm is doing stuff in life.
I seen how he looked. He looked woke. He looked like he will sell incense.
Oh, you know what? No, Malcolm is perfect. You're right. Okay, all right, we doing Malcolm. Because I said Jean-Pierre.
Okay.
You can do Malcolm.
Got it. Cool. Malcolm it is. Take us to where I first met. How old were you? How old was he?
Okay.
And you gotta remember that name.
Malcolm, yeah. So, but you can edit if I fuck up. But we gonna say Malcolm. I'm gonna say Malcolm. I don't be saying his name anymore. So
all right.
Which ironically,
it's
my brother-in-law has the same exact name.
So that triggers you every time?
No, it doesn't.
It's a common name.
I've met so many of them since.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, like I met a guy a few months ago. I met two guys at the same time. And I met that one of them had his first name and the other one had his last name as his first name. And I was like,
two first names.
I was like, ugh, hi guys. So yeah.
That's kind of funny.
Nah, so when we first met, so I believe I was 23 in 2011. I did the math earlier. I was born in 88. I think I was 23.
In 2011?
2011, right? 88. Yeah, it has to be
like
11.
23,
yeah,
24.
23. It's 23, yeah. I was 23 technically when I first saw him or knew he was even a person.
Gotcha.
So there was a girl that went to college with us. She was putting on these music show things in the city, in the Lower East Side, in Brooklyn, whatever. So she invited me out. Now, this whole story is really about my art, really this whole relationship. Now I realize that. So I'm going to weave that in because it's important. So,
but I'll cut you off.
Yeah.
You was his manager. You became his manager, and it still has something to do with the art.
Huh?
It's still your life still has something to do with your art today.
Me
at that time
dealing with him at all was because I was missing art. That's what I was attracted to. I was attracted to this eccentric energy. So let me get to that. So
got it.
So I'm saying that because the girl that invited me out to this, music showcase thing. Like I had started going to exhibits and doing this stuff. So the backstory is I stopped drawing when I was 16. I dropped it cold turkey and just told myself I wasn't an artist. I believed I wasn't good enough. I saw someone else's art and it was this whole thing. So
you just say this on the page.
I ran from this thing. So around this time I start having this yearning to go to things that are art related. Even now I'm thinking back, I'm like, oh shoot, that's what I was doing. I was looking for that thing. So I go to this music showcase and I see him performing there. And I thought he was really dope. But I didn't talk to him that day. We didn't communicate or anything.
Okay.
So this is the end of 2011. At this time, I'm working at Radio City and I was applying to get into grad school because I decided I wanted to move into the sports industry. So I get into grad school at NYU. I start NYU a few months later, 2 months later, something like that. And then fast forward maybe a couple of months into 2012 is when I go to another one of his shows and I actually talk to him. Now, this is, we're at the Delancey or the Delancey at the bottom of not the DL, not the one with the big rooftop.
It's called the Delancey?
The Delancey is 2 blocks down. It's right by the Williamsburg Bridge, right at the mouth of it.
Got you.
They're two, and it's always confusing because I can't remember. One is the DL, one's the Delancey, and which one is which. It's always a thing. So the one by the bridge, I was there because he had a showcase, and then everybody had gone to the rooftop after. So The first moment I spoke to him, I went to get a drink and then I was walking past him.
Yeah.
And then he said something under his breath like, oh, you're beautiful or something. So then we talked for like a second. And at this time, so now this time my self-esteem is horrible. At least I don't know. I don't realize that. But yeah, like the validation was a big deal for me because I'm not fully understanding who I am, how I show up. Like I don't really know myself at this time. So somebody doing that to me now, it's just like, yeah, whatever, nigga. Like that doesn't move me. I don't need you to tell me that.
Right,
but back then it's like, I don't know that about myself. So this was just like, wow, this person likes me. So anyway, yeah, so I walked past him. So we talked briefly and then I go and sit with my friends. He's still talking with whoever he's talking with. At some point he comes over and he sits near us and then like, he just like leaves suddenly. And it was odd. I found it to be odd. Fast forward later on, he told, allegedly, but again, you'll find out that he's like a pathological liar. But I had found out from him that day they were hooking him up supposedly with some girl, but then he saw me and then that changed. I think it's bullshit. But anyway, like that's what he claimed when he suddenly left like that.
And that won you over? Like, oh, he
chose
the
story.
Me.
Oh, I was just like, oh, wow. Like back then, like, I'm like, oh, wow, that's so whatever.
He chose me over this other girl?
Yeah, that's stupid shit. So anyway, we have that brief interaction, but I didn't get his number or nothing. We didn't talk or anything. A few months later, I go on this trip with a friend of mine. I just finished my first semester at NYU.
Gotcha.
And we went up to, my friend Tiffany, we went up to Albany. She didn't even go to UAlbany. I'm like, oh, let's randomly go to Albany. Let's spend a week there or something. We in our early 20s just doing some wild shit. She didn't have kids at the time. We just like living it up at this motel, like some bullshit vacation. Yeah. So anyway, they had a show. Again, our friend from UAlbany had another showcase and he was going to be performing. And I was like.
It was cool like that?
Her and our friend
and Malcolm.
Oh, her boyfriend at the time.
Oh, got you.
Found him on the train performing or something, and he was the one putting him on, and he just thought he was such a great artist.
Gotcha.
So, by way of her boyfriend, basically, yeah.
Gotcha.
So, in any event, I knew they were having a show, and so I was like, yo, like, let's get back in time. I want to go to this music showcase thing or whatever. So, we came back to Brooklyn, went to the showcase with her, and then that night, we talked for a few, and then, like, I remember when I met him, it was from the beginning, he always had like just a sob story. He was just always perpetually a victim from the day I met him. And at the time, like, you know, I'm thinking I need to have sympathy for this. Oh my God, like you need to come and, you know, pet this fucking stray dog, really.
Was the helper fixer?
Yeah. Build a man factory. Yeah, that was me. I had the factory. I had the whole system set up. Okay. I had the workers, everything. So, yeah. So I met him and I remember feeling so bad for him. He was like, he just needs a band and he just needs then I had just met a drummer like the week before or some shit. I was like, oh, but it was like he needed a band. But then like I found out that he ain't have no money to pay a band. And then, so just for the record, from the beginning, I knew he was broke and had really nothing other than the fact that he was talented.
Yeah, but in your question there, you said you had 0 relationships before this.
As far as I'm concerned, they were all situationships, including this. But like, this was the closest to a real relationship. The rest were all.
So you have no examples of. What love looked like and.
Not really, because they were just all situationships. They were things that were fleeting, and now I understand that it's because I was chasing the external at the time. So it's like, oh, this person's cute. That's good enough, and it actually isn't something that's sustainable for me. Yeah. So everybody I would be with. Within like a couple of months, I wasn't even attracted to them and I couldn't figure out what was wrong, including him. Like I couldn't figure out what was wrong. And it's just like, you can't stay with somebody because they're cute. It doesn't work like that because after a while, they're not cute.
Right.
They can't be cute that long if all they got is that they're cute. Like if they're dumb, if they're, you know, all these other things, like, you know, you're only going to be attracted to that for so long. You know, like, my backstory is, you know, I went to Catholic school. I was intelligent and learned all this stuff. And people used to make fun of me. And when I'd come back home, it's like, oh, like you speak like, you know, you speak well. And like, who do you think you are? And all this stuff. So I always felt kind of shame around being smart in some way. So, you know, I wouldn't focus on that. But then it's like, I need intellectual stimulation. So actually, I can't really talk to somebody that I'm like, we just don't even understand each other. And that was like a lot of the relationship was like us not understanding each other. Okay. So
in what ways?
Just, At the time, so like one of my biggest, like I guess I'll get into that, like my biggest issue with myself that I'm still like working my way out of is like the perfectionism and things just need to be this like kind of black and white kind of way. And he's like artist mode, like nah, like A don't need to come before B.
Just let it
it's
flow
A,
and
X, Z, P. Like he didn't even give a fuck, you know, like, and I was the total opposite of that. But that's the thing I was drawn to because I knew deep down, I knew that having everything one, it wasn't even working for me, you know, and I was suffering through being a perfectionist, you know, like it's a draining thing to always be trying to get things the right way because you can never really live up to it. So yeah, I don't know if I answered what you just asked, but yeah.
Take next steps. So y'all mingling at these events.
Yeah,
you seeing him.
So I got his phone number, but we didn't talk. We still didn't actually text each other until like a month after that. So it was like a lot of delayed kind of whatever. So
you knew he was broke. So
yeah. So I mean, from that moment, I knew he was broke, and then we were texting. We started texting like a month after that or 2 months after that. I invited him. Something told me to invite him to some party that my friend's boyfriend at the time was having or something.
Okay.
So I text him to invite him. He's saying he couldn't come because he didn't have any money to come or something like that. So obvious red flags from friggin' day one,
but you
right?
Didn't know this.
Like,
he was young,
Yeah, but it's like I did know that, but again, that's what I'm saying about the art thing. Like I'm still attracted to this artistic energy. That's the thing that I like. He could have literally just probably. I wouldn't say kill somebody in front of me, but I mean, he could have done something probably irrational, and I would have made an excuse for it at the time.
Can I give my point of view?
Yeah.
When I first met him, he has a way with words. He's good with words. I'm just saying, he'll make you believe like a lot of things.
Yeah. So it's funny you say that. The example I gave, I gave actually. I'll get into that. I almost did a recording like flushing this whole experience out right after the relationship, not with you, with somebody else. Yeah. And I gave the example of. You know the popcorn in the boxes, the little styrofoam things?
Yeah.
So I was like, yo, when Malcolm would pull up, he pulls up with like a fucking Santa Claus bag of this styrofoam.
Yeah.
And he pours it out and everyone's like, hey, it's lit. And you just like, oh my God, this is so fun. And he's like, all right, y'all. And he's there taking stuff from the place, you know, he taking things, and y'all playing in the fucking peanuts, and then he's like, all right. And then he leaves. And then you sitting there, and then 20 minutes later, you pick up a peanut, like, wait a minute, what is this? And you look, and it's like, it's nothing.
Yeah.
But he cleaned everything out. He took everything out. That's real. He took all the real furniture out of here and left you with peanuts. That's what it was like interacting with him. Is that not like fairly accurate? Because I worked real hard.
I mean, from what I've known of him, he was good with his words, made you believe everything that he was going through or what he was about to do.
And wouldn't do any of it. Yeah. Wasn't doing none of it. He was expecting the world to sponsor him. That was a big theme.
Smooth talker, I will say that.
Yeah, some version of it. But, you know, looking back, it's interesting because now that couldn't be me today. Like, literally, I have experienced people like that. And the minute they pull up, I'm like, like I got my spray.
So you're big on actions now.
Yeah, like because you can tell, like, when I think back about it, there were times I'm like, I know what that look was when he was lying. Now I realize because there were certain clear indicators that he was lying, but he would gaslight me and point out something that's something I gotta work through. And I was just so broken in my own shit that I would just dive right into self-reflection with myself and forget that, like, we were only even talking because you was cheating or doing something. I was originally saying something to you and you somehow flipped it, and now I'm here reflecting.
Yeah.
You know? And not that I didn't need to reflect. Absolutely. Like, I wouldn't have even been in that dynamic had I not needed to work through things with myself.
Wow. Yeah.
You know, like, at the end of the relationship, that's when I started doing all that work, I started realizing, okay, like, I keep basically dating my family, like my parents, like my mom, over and over again, like in relationships, and I was repeating a pattern.
Like that? Good with words and
just like the
manipulation,
narcissistic tendencies, right? Like, you know, it's like the highest form of survival mode, where you're just operating how you need to get by, and you're just not fully self-aware of how it's like playing out, or even really able to care or be empathetic for that, because they're just so deep into trying to get safety for themselves. Like, that's the best way I could describe it.
Let's go to the beginning. We got to get up to this part.
Yeah. So I was saying, we were like vaguely texting, whatever. I invited him to this event. He didn't end up coming because he didn't have any money.
Gotcha.
So then we started texting that like whole night. And this is a red flag, because like it very quickly the conversation became sexual. And that's usually not a good sign, actually. Again, me in the time being very vulnerable and not having high self-esteem, like I'm seeing that as a good thing, when really that's not a good thing. Because there's a whole lot of steps before the conversation should even be close to that. But in any event, we text like all night this night. The next day, I got up, and it was one of my niece's sweet 16 or something. We had to go all the way out in Jersey. And we hadn't spoken all day. And again, I still just met this dude, but whatever. So he texts me, and he just says, "Stop thinking about me." That was his text message. Like the corniest shit ever. But I was thinking about him.
But so
it worked. Of course it worked back then. Yeah. So it was just like this, wow, like this must really be meant to be. And I just want to point out, like from the very beginning, there was like everything was just not clear. There was no clear, like it really did start off and like just a very dragged out situationship. Because, people come into relationships out here not working on themselves, all that stuff, and kind of just like silently having different expectations and not communicating it, and then finding out later that you two don't even want the same thing.
That's true.
So so I was in that. So I'm just like heart eye emoji, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, and he's just like another idiot, perfect.
Yeah, got him.
So yeah.
Damn.
That was the beginning, like, and actually, I don't even know if I want to share this. I might not share this for okay. I'm not gonna
do that. Come on.
All right, fine.
You gotta like PG it or something.
Yeah, like our first so-called date, I paid.
Okay.
And then he came over, and I text my friend. I'm like, "Yo, Tiffany, like I met this guy. Like she had met him the day at his show or whatever. I'm like, if his ass is crazy, like I don't know. So here, like this is my location, like whatever. Like I did all the girl stuff or whatever. Yeah. So nothing happened. Like we didn't have sex or anything like that. But still, like the first date was basically like me sponsoring him and housing him for again, so many red flags. Like that's not normal. So and again, that wasn't even really a date. There's still the situationship. Like, was that really even a first date of anything? Like that was a story in my head.
What were you used to when it came to men in your dating history back before him?
It was so surface level. What I was used to was just being so happy that somebody liked me. And so
even throughout college days and everything?
College was just full of there was like situationships. Those are exactly what those things were. They didn't even.
But before that, like,
maybe those men are upset about that, but who cares? Like it was a situationship, and they fucking knew it. They just wanted, again, in that kind of narcissistic timeline, they want you to believe that they care a lot more, but like really, they don't. And so like it just withers out the way that it withers out. So yeah, what was I used to? Just being happy to be here, which is the worst possible position you could be in. Because if you believe that you're so fortunate that somebody likes you, you'll put up with anything. So that's what I was used to.
Good, yeah.
Which is why someone starting off broken homeless as a beginning.
Homeless?
For that to be dragged out. Well, that's what I began to find out was really, a lot of what he was doing was really just to get himself a place to stay. He would just be bouncing around here and there. Yeah, all of that.
Hobosexual?
Yeah, oh, big time. Hobosexual vibes, big time, yeah.
Oh, man, I know people like that, and it's so fascinating how they maneuver. Because I can't do it. I can't find myself living on top of somebody, bringing clothes to their house, and it's like my pride. I have pride.
Yeah.
But continue.
I was just talking about the start, so I don't know.
So y'all never made it official? No girlfriend, boyfriend? Y'all just in that role?
That's the thing, like... It was like this implied thing eventually, because eventually he came and lived with me and my parents because he had gotten really sick. It was this whole thing that happened years later. But
okay.
He He got really sick. He had all these like unexplained illnesses that, as far as I'm concerned, I think they're spiritual. I think he just couldn't live with himself. And
a Haitian bug on him.
Haitian what?
They do the voodoo stuff. I hear about it.
Yeah, but it's just more like to keep up the facade that he was trying to keep up. Like, I'm sorry, I don't care how diabolical you are or whatever, you can't really sleep at night with doing certain things, you know? And he couldn't sleep at night. These are all red flags. He couldn't sleep at night. He would have horrible night sweats. And I mean night sweats, not like you wake up and you're a little wet. No, I mean the bed would be wet like somebody threw a bucket of water in the bed. The mattress pad, like, no, I'm serious. I really think he was going through some like serious spiritual turmoil, and that's what his unexplained illnesses and different things would be, is he was really just in a battle with himself, because he's waking up every day to be full of shit. Every day you get up and you just dress up and pretend to be somebody and go back home and then get up and do it again for years and years and years. And that's draining. That's tiring I'm not a good liar personally, so I don't know how anybody could just continuously get up and lie. You can only keep that up for so long. And that would explain why his relationships and so-called friendship, they would always be short term. He was always cutting someone off and cutting this. And I would block these people because I'm like, oh, I don't want anybody contacting me looking for you. And then after the breakup, I found out like, no, he was just like fucking people over. They'd call him out. And then of course he's running from them because they told him the truth about himself.
Yeah.
And really, everybody was chilling. Everyone was doing business with each other. They would just cut him out. So he was literally repelling the bag from us.
He knew some people, though. Like, he knew some important people. He knew some people with money. How do you think he got these connections?
So he would talk his way into them. And all he would do is just know them. It would never rub off on him. You ever notice that? It would never...
I didn't know him like that.
That's what I'm saying. Nobody even knew that, like, he was with me, or, like, people didn't actually know his circumstances. They would just be like, oh, how do you do these things? Like, he would do them by, really just a little here, a little there, like that. He would kind of just like piece his life together in that way. Wow. Yeah.
To jump forward a little bit, right? Mm-hmm. I used to invite you out places and be like, yo, let's hang out. Mm-hmm. And you used to always say, Malcolm is sick. I have to take care of him. Mm-hmm. Malcolm is sick. That used to come up a lot.
He was always sick.
Describe what that looked like. Like, what was happening? What
the sickness was?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, besides the night sweat stuff, it would just be like he's in chronic pain. He's like keeled over. He'd be throwing up. It was actually, when I originally met him, first he told me he told me he had this condition where his rib cage is inverted. And he was so, and like, it's this whole thing. And I looked it up, and it's like, there'd always be things that were slightly off with things he'd say to me. And I would just convince myself that I'm just stupid. I don't know whatever the thing is. So I remember looking it up, and then it was this Latin term. I forgot what the term was, but he believed that he had whatever this condition was. But then the more research I did, I'm like, there's no physical way that you have this condition. Like, this is just simply not something that you have. So right. I don't know. So it wasn't that. And then when he was in the hospital for that extensive amount of time, like the same thing, the throwing up, his body's keeled over, but like there was no actual explanation for it. That's why I'm saying I really think it was spiritual, because it wouldn't even, I can't explain it. He'd just be in pain, allegedly. And he can't move and he can't function, and that's just how it was. It would just happen often.
How would you take care of him? What would you do?
I would just be there. I don't know, because the thing is also, I'm not good with medical field stuff. Yeah. I'll be honest with you. Throwing up is like the bane of my existence. I have zero interest in it. So like definitely towards the end, his father passed away. And he was like sick for a week, throwing up nonstop. And he was really upset. I was treating him like his ass had cooties. I was definitely just like,
wow.
I was just sitting there like, because at that point now, this is towards the end of the relationship where I'm really at the height of lying to myself, where I'm just like, obviously I'm tolerating this man, like clearly, but I still think I'm not. And he could feel that I don't, like I'm tolerating him. Like a lot of things he would say, I realized I was projecting that I didn't, like my body was in conflict with this person.
Gotcha.
Because it's like in my head, I believe this is the love of my life. But, I guess we'll get to the sexual and body stuff. Like my body was rejecting him from like 3 years into the so-called, relationship situationship or whatever. Because like the first 3 years was a lot of like in and out, talking to him. So first of all, we should have called him Tyrone. He ain't have no phone. So first of all, he ain't have no phone or phone number. He had a phone and he just used it on Wi-Fi, like as if he was, that's what he was doing. He didn't get a phone and phone number officially until 2018 when I bought him a phone. So there's emails that I have where I was emailing him at one point.
You must have really liked him to go through this.
No, I must have really liked art. That's what I'm telling you. Like, this was really all about me chasing this creative energy because, like, all of these things are not real. They're not reasons to like someone. They're just not.
So you had a...
You think I'm crazy, Lama?
I mean, to put up with this...
I know.
Yeah, never made it official. You was just in his world, basically.
Yeah, like... It was official in theory when he was living at my house. That was about.
What about when y'all meet people? How would y'all introduce each other?
He would introduce me as his girl at the time, and I would always be saying that this is my boyfriend, partner. I don't know what word I was using back then, but
now he did music, and you took on the role of being his manager,
pseudo manager, sure.
Let's go there, in this part of your life.
So, like, how that experience was. Yeah, so he just would never, people would say they want to manage him and then he would always kind of just float away. Mm-hmm. After dealing with him and break up and everything, I totally understand why people would pop up. I mean, he would always complain about how people don't take him seriously because he doesn't have the bread and it's always about that. And it just always was a focus on not having money and that's the reason. I think there was a lot of other reasons besides just him not having money. He just wasn't a serious person. Like, he wanted to just do things his way. Gotcha. And he believed that he was like one of those narcissists that was...
people use that word now. Are you using it for the right reason? People like to use that?
No, he was absolutely narcissistic. But at the time, like when the breakup first happened and I was doing all this research, I had this very black and white way of understanding narcissism where it's like you either are one or you aren't one.
Right.
I don't see it that way now. So I don't feel like it's this incurable disease that affects some people or something. It's more so an energy that you just have to actually work your way out of. And it's possible to work your way out of it if you're, in that space to reflect and all that shit. But when you're really at the height of that story, the last thing you want to do is face yourself. That like is the absolute worst thing for you is to face yourself. So anyway, back to that, like, grandiosity, like there's like different layers and levels of narcissism, and like he believed that he was at the top of whatever. Like he thought that he was the best artist, the best this, the best that, and that he didn't have to, he went through whatever trauma and things that he went through. He had a tough story. He did. Yeah. His mother and stepfather were both abusive. The mother would like let the stepfather abuse him. He also had a brother that was gay, and the family disowned the brother. So the brother like went off into the distance, and nobody heard from him or something. So he had a whole lot of serious stuff that he grew up with. But my point is, he thought that the world had to pay for that. Like he thought that everybody was responsible for the stuff that happened to him. That's just how he was showing up at the time. Hopefully he's not doing that now. I don't know. I blocked him many years ago, but like,
Did you find him talented as an artist?
I did. I really did think he was talented. I thought he had so much potential, but I also see how much he would get in his own way. And it's stuff that I struggle with now as an artist too, ironically. So I understand. The thing is, I don't put that on the rest of the world. That's the thing. I have things that I recognize I'm obstructing. He thought that everyone else was obstructing him when really he was just self-sabotaging everything. Anything that was good, he would ruin it. Like that was just his default setting. He would ruin everything and blame it on the other person or the other thing when really he was just doing things to create the experience he was having. And I can say the same for me. I was self-sabotaging by even being with him. So, like I was choosing to be in a cycle with someone because I didn't realize I even had a choice to not deal with that because my self-esteem was so low, as I mentioned. So,
well, he did have a way with words. Even the content he put out, it was believable.
And even that fucking way of words, like I would try to help him, and I'd be like, yo, like, you have to edit your captions and fix your grammar, you know, like.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yes.
This nigga, man. Yo, it used to get me so llama. It used
those big ass captions used to be written in a way.
Oh my God, yo, that. Oh, you mean that?
That?
Yeah, he would just be, and it's like, if you really sit there and read it, it don't even be making no sense. Like, it wouldn't even make sense. But separate of that, the grammar, all this, the punctuation, everything would just be like unreadable a lot of the time. Like, they're all fucked up. You're all of the, everything wrong. And I'd be like, hey, you know, I would try to give him constructive criticism to fix. I'm like, yo, just like, or you want to like write the caption, I'll edit it for you. He would fight me on that. He's like, oh, you're trying to change me, all this stuff. So it's like, I'd be actually trying to help him. But, and I'm sure maybe my tone at the time, I don't know. Like, I just know that no matter what, it would always be a problem. Like, when you're dealing with somebody who's narcissistic, it's everything's a moving target. Like, there's always something wrong. Every time something gets fixed, something else is wrong. Like, there's always some reason why there can't be peace and quiet all the time.
We are all over the place here.
I know.
This is like, yo, what are they talking about? But
you want to say
she had a Grand Rising dude.
Oh my God.
He'll come on the internet.
The ultimate Grand Rising dude.
Come on IG. Grand Rising kings and queens.
Oh yeah.
With that message and everything. I was believing it. I was one of the followers that were like, yes, like, we're going to get this money.
Yeah.
He made me a believer. So I could see how he infiltrated your system and you know.
Yeah, I mean, like, he's a low-key cult leader, no lie.
I used to like the dude. You know, I didn't know until like you started talking, like, what? And it started to make sense.
Yeah.
How he went from this to like these people over here to this person over here, not mess with him, and it made sense.
Yeah, so, I mean, it also makes sense why he fled, like why he left the country altogether. Because, like, really and truly, the thing is, niggas done sat down and compared notes already. So if he were to really come back, like, he can't really at this point. I mean, if he did, he'd have to tuck away somewhere in the cut in Jersey, you know, or wherever. But yeah.
You don't hear no stories about him to this day?
He's blocked on every possible thing. I even blocked him on shit I didn't even have accounts for yet. Oh, wow. I was like, oh, TikTok? I'm going to make a TikTok just so I could block him. I was making an account. And then, yo, it's so crazy because...
that happened to me one time, but go ahead.
Bruh, what? Blocking somebody on TikTok?
Yeah. I was like, what's your TikTok? And I was already blocked. I was like, God damn. I didn't know why, but I was blocked. I was like blocking ahead of time with things. Like, once I really got... when I got the full understanding of what I was in, I was like, no, clean house. And even me being in that clean house energy... Up until this year, I'm still finding items that are his. I'm still finding emails in my inbox that are his. I'm still finding things that I missed. And I'm like, yo, what is this teaching me? I thought I cleaned this whole thing out. Like, I found his music that was like trapped in my computer or something. And I had to deal with Apple for 2 hours at like 11 p.m. to get it off. Like, it was like, it's just a leech that just like wouldn't. So y'all been together, what, like 10 years?
It was like eight and a half years.
That's a long time.
And again, even that is loose because that's me if I'm just counting the minute I met him, we were together. If I'm working with not delusion, it was probably really more like 5.5 years technically. But because the minute I got with him, I believed in my head we were together. It's an 8.5 year cycle of me wasting time with this one person. So yeah.
But you was with him for this long. There had to been some things you liked. What were some things you liked about him?
Oh my God. I mean,
funny dude.
He was funny, but he was funny because he was fucking nuts. Like, that's why he was funny. He wasn't like stand-up comedy funny. He was funny.
No, it's just him being himself.
Because, whatever the version of himself he was presenting was, like, it was funny. Like, there was a comedy there. And he believed in just like, getting up and being spontaneous, like the spontaneity, like the way in which I move spontaneously now, I wouldn't say it came from him, but that was my first experience, like allowing myself to be more free and not be so rigid with how I move, how I do things. So
how does that look? Explain
What, back then, like with him?
You being spontaneous.
Right now?
Yeah.
Being spontaneous?
Yes.
Last week I went to Malta and it was...
Out of nowhere?
On a whim. It was literally from Monday night. I'm gonna tell you the story because like, and it's crazy because I know if he were to see this, he's gonna be like, see, I taught her that. But like, no, nigga, you did not teach me that. But I did practice that when I was around him. So yeah, there's this artist that I know on Twitter. She's a teen artist, and she's around the age when I quit art. And I had interviewed her on Twitter like 2 weeks prior with another person on Twitter on some random shit. And then she started tweeting saying that she needs somebody to represent her in Malta. She's up for this award. And she needs a representative. And so I'm just like, oh man, I hope you can. Yeah. So I was like, oh, I hope you find somebody, like maybe I could do it. And I was like, oh, this is a crazy thing. Like, I'll do it. Like, I'm not gonna do it. Like, then I'm like, wait, I don't really have an excuse. I don't have children. I've already paid rent. Like, I don't really have a reason why I can't do this thing. So literally the next day I was teaching some kids art, and I'm like checking my Twitter, like going back and forth, and it just turned out like, yeah, like it seems like you're the only person volunteering for this. You get an all expense paid trip. If she won the award, I'd get reimbursed for my flight. Oh, wow. But everything else was covered. So I'm like, okay, I think we're gonna do this. So like I dropped like $900 on a flight and just like flew across the world. I flew to London. And this is the same day. Like I'm teaching the kids. I finished teaching them around 1:00. I hit my dad up, asked him to pick me up. And by 6 p.m. I was on a flight to London. Wow. And from London to Malta. And then coming back was like a 4-flight situation. Like I had to fly into 2 different parts of Italy, France, had a long layover there. And then I came back here. So yeah, that type of shit, I would have never done stuff like that, 15 years ago or something like that. So I'm not gonna say I owe it to him, but I definitely got a lot of respect for spontaneity and what it does for your creativity, especially.
Yeah, I'm like that. I just all right, we're gonna do this.
Yeah, you're a Gemini. You be doing Gemini shit.
I like doing that. Yeah, we're going to Philly.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, why we not doing it? Let's do it. Yeah.
What else about him
that I liked?
Yeah.
Damn. Liked because it's like I feel like it's weird to ask that question or to answer that question because I learned that I didn't know him. Like what I ended up learning was that like this person was all a facade. So what I liked about him was probably not even him. Like the spontaneousness, but a lot of it was just like for show. He just wanted to look different and be cool and come off this certain way. So I don't know if that's even who he really was. It's just who he probably thought he needed to be because he was always trying to overcompensate for the fact that he didn't have no money. So he always wanted to appear different in some way than anyone else. So it was a lot of what is everyone else doing? I want to just do the opposite of that. So,
but I would say from outside looking in, you would present him in that manner.
Yeah,
you would hold him to the highest light. So
because I thought the creativity and just the whole thing, like. I was missing creativity in my life. So just the way he operated, I respected how he moved when it came to creativity. But it was really just respect to creativity. When I looked at how he operated with everything else, he wasn't respectable. Yeah. And I had to really confront that with myself when everything ended.
When certain situations happen, how would y'all handle it? Or let's say...
Like what?
Or he'll cut somebody off or he'll have a situation.
With me?
No, with somebody else.
Oh, okay.
And he'll be like, oh, that person did this, that. You said you would cut them off? You wouldn't?
I would. So
you will always take his side?
I would always just believe him. I would always just believe him. Yeah. Anything he would say to me, I would always believe that he's telling the truth. And I had countless examples from the very beginning. So let's rewind back because I know we're trying to go in order in some way. But like I first met him and then we like had this like hot and heavy, very much like, what do you call it? What do you call it when you start off, oh my God, the love bombing phase, that whole thing. Yeah, so we definitely had that. And then he disappeared. He disappeared for like a year and a half or something like that. Like we didn't talk for a long time or something. And then he just popped up out of nowhere and started messaging me on Instagram. And at this time, I'm like working at my job at the Nets at the time. So I'm like messaging him and I'm just like so excited, like he's popped back up. And then all of a sudden I get a phone call from a girl saying that this is his girlfriend and she sees that we're messaging or whatever. So I'm just like, what is going on? This is the worst. So that happens. So I'm like cursing him out. I'm like, fuck you, whatever. So then he wants to meet up with me to talk about it. And he tells me this bullshit story about the girl has some sort of cancer and he's like having sex with her to make her feel better or some. I don't even remember fully that, but I just remember it was absolute nonsense.
He probably smoothed it out. Oh yeah, he had
and all that whole relationship was a place to live. Again, like he found a solid place to live. So of course he was gonna go off and be with a girlfriend.
I hate to ask this, right? Mm-hmm. But normally people that live like that be slinging penis, right? Mm-hmm. Did he get you in that way?
Sexually?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like he was good. He was good at that for sure. Okay. But the thing is, when you are showing up a certain way and the lying, all of those things that I'm like, my body is, I know he's lying about something, but I'm convincing myself. So my body is in conflict. As good as he was at that, from the time he came back during or after that whole girlfriend situation, which is like circa 2015 or so, from that first time that I had sex with him, that like after all of those things happened and we finally like reconnected, I remember being there and just being like, how could you be doing this? And you're like, you were lying about something. Like I couldn't understand it. And it was like, that was the beginning of like the downfall of just like, me just really not being attracted to him and him being able to tell that, and me having all these like, I'm having bodily issues like over time, right? I start having, yeast infections, like women stuff, like I never ever had in my life until I'm dealing with him.
What would he say?
And I also, my sex drive is low, right? But it's not that it was low, I wasn't really attracted to him, and I couldn't understand that, because I'm just like, I'm believing in my head this is the love of my life. I don't get why my body is like rejecting this person.
Right.
It's literally hurting. Why is that? Why am I feeling that way? And he's telling me it's something wrong with me. He's like sending me to a yoga workshop. Oh, you should try this thing, this yogasm event.
That's his response to.
Yeah, he was just saying, we just were both agreeing that something's wrong with me. It would always come down to, I got some issue. So that's the problem. And really, it's like, women, who wants to sleep with somebody they don't respect? It's very hard to get turned on and excited by someone you don't even have any regard for. Like, I didn't respect him, and I didn't realize that I didn't respect him, but I didn't. And my body knew. My body was just like, okay, girl, you could keep dragging this out, but when you go to lay down, there's just not going to be, you're just going to be here, and you'll just lay and be and exist in the way that you show up, but that's about it. That's all you can give. So I found out the hard way. And then when I would talk to women afterwards and they went through situations like that where they were with someone who was lying and doing all this stuff, they were just like, oh my God, me too. Like I started having bodily this. I started, my whole body just didn't like him anymore. And I was like, I just wish I realized that. I was just so busy lying to myself because I just thought my body doing that was my fault. That's the one thing, like that does make me sad to think that I was in a place where I thought everything was my fault, and that's why I was so angry.
But where does that come from,
What?
Well, you're blaming yourself for, did your parents treat you like that? Or like,
yeah, it's just you grow up in perfectionism. It's just what they know, like you always want to find something to blame for a problem. So it was just easy to point it on me because I'm also trying to be sympathetic and empathetic towards his whole fucking sob story, really. So I would always like feel like, okay, I know I have family issues, but like it's nothing like his. So mine takes a back seat because his sob story is bigger than mine. So I would just allow myself to recede every time things would go down. And so a lot of times, like when stuff would come up and we'd get into it for whatever cheating situation or whatever it was, because it happened like once or twice where I found out about it, that he told me about.
Wait, all right, let's go there.
Yeah, we gotta, because I know, we're like, you're gonna be able to piece it together, right?
Yeah, but he would tell you about these things?
No, not in general, but there's one specific time he did because he thought he got something. And so he thought he got something, and that's the only reason he told me about it. And he still lied through that. He just like told me, but he told me in this like convoluted, watered down way. Like he didn't really say that he had sex with someone. He made it sound like they just did something to him. And it was just like, it was weird. And that, like, we started going to therapy after that. Stuff that, and it's crazy because, like, the therapist, like, when I talked to her, she was talking to both of us, which that's not even how that normally even works. But anyway, so she talked to me and she talked to him, and she was just saying, like, I don't know how you do it, because she had a guy that she was dating and he cheated on her and she just could not deal with him. There was nothing he could say.
Yeah,
and
I will always have that.
She was absolutely
issue.
right. But because I'm so attached to this artist thing, and that's the thing I'm not realizing, that I really needed to go find that. So I kept attaching to that, and then again buying into his sob story, like, you know, like, he did this because blah blah blah, and it's a dangerous, slippery slope, because that's when they start to do the thing of, you know, other people won't understand. So I wouldn't even tell people certain things that were happening with us.
Oh wow.
So after a certain point, no one even knew some of these things that were going on, because I was ashamed to
but you
even
still
say
kept
it.
A smile on your face.
Because again, I always am thinking that there's just this justifiable excuse that he has that's different from other men, that's different from other people. When if I had even told one person the things I was experiencing, they would have all not been on board. But I wasn't saying anything to anyone, because again, I'm just believing that this is a special circumstance and other people won't understand. So, yeah.
He was that naive?
Yeah, well, yeah, but again, like I just said, like, still, I'm attached to this other thing that I didn't realize. Like, I was so caught up with, this is a person that's being free and accepting, and like, they think differently than everybody that I'm around. Like, that's all I cared about. So all the red flags that are ridiculous now, at the time, I found a loophole every time. I found a way to convince myself that it wasn't exactly what it was. Let me tell you something. Like, the toughest thing about doing an episode like this is the vulnerability, because I can't just sit up here and be like, this nigga, like, you sat through that for almost 9 years. So it's the reason why when I initially went through the breakup and I wanted to go here and talk about this, and then my ego popped up like, bitch, you're gonna have to sit there and say that your ass was sitting through that.
Yeah,
are you gonna sit there and say that? And I was like, well, damn, like, maybe he wasn't that bad. I'll keep it to myself. But
it was a long time.
It was, but because I realized that this is all connected to me coming into my own as a person, as a woman, but as an artist, like, I realized that I needed that experience to get me where I'm at today.
Yeah.
So I can't not tell this story, because it's very much a part of how I even got to rediscover that, you know, which we can get into at some point. But yeah.
Other things, let me see. How would he show his romance to you? What were some ways? His affection.
Yeah, that's another thing. So he was very affectionate physically. Okay. But again, like, my body was rejecting him, so I wasn't.
That was the only way he was showing you affection?
Physically?
Just physically? He wouldn't take you on a date. He wouldn't take you out.
Oh, yeah, no. That, you mean, okay, sorry. Okay, I see. Yeah, like, he always wanted to, like, plan events. But again, when you ain't got no money.
So you had to fund almost everything.
I funded everything. Every single thing. Well, there was this one time that he came into some money.
So all the trips he used to take?
He was just, that's what I'm saying. His phone, all of that.
Sugar mama too?
Was me, exactly. But I'm younger than him. So just to put that, I was 5 years younger than him. People could not even believe that, but he was 5 years older than me. So when you met me, he was like pushing 30, if not 30 already. I mean, I know you're a little older than me, but he's older than you too, I believe.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. What? So you funded all of this stuff?
All of this stuff. And bro, how about I checked my Cash App the other day, because I never used Cash App. Somebody asked me for mine, so I pulled it up, and then I looked and saw that you could see like your history.
Everything, yeah. That you paid somebody.
And I'm like, what is he even doing in here still? So I clicked the history and saw like the amount of money I had given him. And that wasn't even the whole story. That was just between like
when Cash App came out.
No. Cash App was out long before that. But it was basically like within the last 8 to 9 months of the relationship. Mm-hmm. It was like a few $1,000s. Like $3,000 or something like that. And it was like, that's how much I gave him. And he had sent me like 400. And that was probably not even him paying me or something. I don't even like, it was probably some fluke how that even was. Him sending me money wasn't a thing. So I don't know what that $400 was. But yeah.
Dang, I've never been in a situation where I could be so infatuated with a person where I'm just losing all.
All logic.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
I mean, it makes so much sense to me now because I was so deprived from this other thing. So it's just when I stopped doing art, I started to just convince myself, tell myself that, you know, I'm not artistic. I'm a very, you know, black and white thinker. I can only do like, you know, administrative work and stuff. Like I've started to believe that this is not something I should be doing simply because I thought I wasn't good enough. So I'm convincing myself I don't have this skill set. And then I'm now connecting with somebody that has this skill set, this thing that clearly I do have, but I don't believe I have. But clearly I have this attraction to this thing. So it's like, it makes, looking back, it makes so much sense. I was completely deprived of this thing. Like I was starving myself of this thing to the point that I was willing to pay to be around it. That's how badly I needed it. I'm going to art events and I'm still not reconnecting the fact that I'm an artist. I have no memory. I blocked. I have a lot of missed memories from my childhood that I'm only recently finding out about from a friend I reconnected with. Shout out to Andrea. Like I reconnected with her last September, and she was just like, "Yeah, I always knew you." Like, her, several other people have been telling me lately, like, "I knew you were gonna be an artist. Like you would do
I
this."
didn't see it.
Cause you met me when it was something I had
used
already.
To wear corporate event.
That's what I'm saying. Like
attire. Now you look free. You look like an artist.
Yeah, I mean, I did a little
like
business
dress,
casual joint today, but yeah.
It was like business. You had your dress on, your tights.
Yeah.
You like you was
That's what I'm saying.
Like at the airport or something.
That's what I'm saying. Like if you can see, like I was showing up in this very buttoned up way that I thought I was supposed to show up as, and I believed that was who I was. So when I think about that, I think about how much I was suffering. I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing. So of course, this person being this way, like that is something that I obviously needed, but I didn't even fully understand I needed until I found it for myself. Then it just made perfect sense. I was never supposed to be buttoned up like that, but because it was such an extreme of being buttoned up, then it makes sense why the opposite was such an extreme attraction for me, because it was something that I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing, period. That's
gotcha.
What it comes down to, yeah.
Are you shocked when people look at you now and be like, is that the same Shanelle?
I don't know if people do that. I mean, I don't
You got the dreads now.
I mean, that's, yeah.
You're an artist.
Maybe, yeah.
The art is good. Like, it shocked me. I was like, yo, she's actually good.
I don't know. I would say I'll be in my own.
You played the back for so long.
I did. I was, it's crazy because it's funny you say that. We have a video. I don't know if we have it anymore. My kindergarten graduation had this big, you know, my hair used to be big, curly. I had a lot of hair. I have a lot of hair, but my hair's locked now. But had big curly hair or something, little fro. My sister probably blow dried it, so it's like this big. And I'm hiding behind this skinny little white boy, trying not to be seen, singing on the stage, like, and just hoping nobody notices me, nobody sees me. Yeah. But I'm not really supposed to be in the background, like, and every time I run from it, like it always ends up coming back up. So like I'm here where I'm facing off with that. Like, I'm not supposed to be the background, and I'm definitely not supposed to be the background to somebody that ain't a real person, right. Which is what was happening.
I want to go to the downhill parts of this relationship. You said that he got to a point where you started living with you and your parents. Let's go there. Like I know that was like later on in your relationship.
Yeah. So that was, oh my God, like within the last like 4 years or so. So like the second half of the game. So yeah, he got really sick. And then my mom was just like, you know, like if he needs to come here, like she would.
Wait, did they like him?
No, they fucking hated him. But they it was a whole lot of like push and pull all the time with him. He wanted to smoke and it was just all this stuff. Like, so yeah, it was definitely, it took a long time for them to accept him. And when the breakup happened, like I know that they were definitely like, oh, thank God because I know they didn't like it. But if they understood, I think that they would feel a little differently if they understood why why I was repeating certain relationship patterns. It would reflect on them and they wouldn't really be able to have
both
that.
Your father and mother.
Yeah.
What was that like growing up? How was their relationship? You're Jamaican.
Yeah, I'm Jamaican. We're gonna keep it real here, right? So yeah, my parents are together. My My mom is very controlling.
Okay.
She means well in theory, but again, you know, a lot of needs were not met in her childhood. So she just wants her duckies lined up, wants things a certain way. And my father would be out there, you know, the breadwinner. Once she had me, she stopped working, and then he was working full time and double. He was actually also a bouncer on the weekends and would do security. Like, yeah, he worked a lot.
Wow. Yeah.
But I definitely had I was with my mom all the time, but I had a much better relationship with my dad because my mom just wanted to control everything. She wanted you to just be however she wants you to be. So a lot of my childhood was spent with me running from home. It was me, see how like, and again, you see like the parallels, like it makes sense I would attract someone that was bouncing around like that.
Yeah.
That kind of is my story in that I always am looking for refuge elsewhere outside of my home, my family home, you know, my family dynamic. So from my childhood, my same friend Andrea, I would always be downstairs at her place, like all the time. And and she had mad people there, like you don't have your space, and mad brothers and stuff. And like, I like my space. That's not even something I like, but I would literally put myself in situations that were uncomfortable in certain ways for me just because I was looking for that like emotional safety, that freedom to just be myself and it not be a problem.
Gotcha.
Like, you know, I love my parents, but my parents sit upright on the couch. They can't understand how people lay on their own couch. I'm just like, what? you know, like little stuff like that. I couldn't be myself. So again, you see the pattern of like not being able to be myself, seeing somebody be themselves in the way I thought he was being himself. I'm gravitating towards anything that looks like freedom to just do whatever you want.
Yeah.
I want that because I don't have that. So,
Gotcha.
you know, it's the balance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where did you learn about love?
I've had to learn love for myself. I think I grew up seeing my parents being loving towards each other and my mom being very affectionate, my dad being very affectionate, but also seeing, you know, my mom demean my dad a lot of the time and talk to him crazy and talk down to him or, you know, dad and watching him just like put up with that. So I know I was watching their relationship and knowing I didn't want to repeat a lot of the things I saw.
Gotcha.
Just the relationships in my family. Like I saw, you know, cheating, lying, you know, I don't want to get too detailed here, but, you know, just not having enough support from one partner or another and just disrespect in certain ways or, you know, one partner just walking there like, you know, not talking to their family, to their wife and kids and stuff like that. I knew I didn't want that. So there were certain things that I saw that I was really, mostly what I was doing was racking up a list of what I didn't want.
Right.
And then turning around and attracting exactly what I didn't want in different ways. Like one of the dudes from UAlbany that I was talking to, like he like on the way to the downfall for that, like he like got upset of something with me and we didn't talk for a week or 2 weeks or something. And then like in the end, he just like got upset about something and we didn't talk for like 5 months. And then he tried to pop up like nothing happened. And at that point I was like, no, I would never, I'm not going to deal with, what are you going to, you're going to walk past me and our child in our house because you're upset about something, like if we were to actually move forward. I don't want to live like that. So I mostly just knew what I didn't want. And when you focus on the negative, when you focus on what you don't want, you usually end up getting that exact scenario.
Right.
So I didn't really have what am I working towards? It was more so, what am I working against? And then having to find out that going about it that way just attracted it. So I ended up having to find out what that was for myself after this relationship. Yeah.
Wow. Lessons learned.
Yeah.
Man, so the downhill part. So you started living together. Your
Right.
parents allowed them in.
Yeah. So
Still broke, still no money.
still broke, still no money.
Still artist.
Still an artist. But again, so what he was doing was he's making music. He won't release no music. So it's so crazy because I'm going through all these things right now. As I'm talking about this, I can't even judge him because I've been getting in my own way to allow myself to let people buy my art. I've been literally doing the same fucking things that I'm even talking about. So just to put that out there.
But why? What's going on through your mind?
Fear. Like
Of what?
it's just fear of my own potential. It's like what I've been dealing with is like, I'm just afraid. What if I can't handle it? What if it's just a bunch of what ifs what if it's not perfect? What if it's it doesn't need to be perfect. Like there's an answer for everything that I'm coming up with. And I've just been like allowing myself to be mad talented and like not fully put myself out there. So that's where I'm at right now. Where
I always had the mindset, if I like it, I think people will like it. So
and it's not that. It's not about. It's not about feeling whether or not people will like it. It's not that.
It's like, all right, if I make this art, I put it out there and it blows up. How do I handle that? That type of feeling?
Yeah, but just like to do the steps to make sure that it's just the back end stuff.
Oh, all right.
I'll share the art, but then it's like fix your website so that people can click the link. It's just like, I turned the simplest thing into this mountainous.
Yeah.
You gotta fix a website, and it's like that. People do that in 2 seconds. That's not a big deal. You can literally talk to AI and do a lot of the things that you're complaining about.
Yeah.
So you don't really have an excuse other than you're just trying to get in your own way because you're like afraid of your own potential. And I think that on some level he was going through that.
Yeah.
And but because, see, I don't think I'm a victim though. Like I'm fully aware that I'm the problem with myself. He just really believed that he was a victim. And so that was the focus. Mm-hmm. It was always, he can't do this because they did this and I don't have this. And it was just a moving target. Towards the last year, because we're going to the downfall, he's like, I can't make music because I don't have a laptop. I spent all 2020 paying off a brand new laptop for him. He broke the one laptop. When I left the Nets, I bought myself a laptop, cash, bro. I went to Best Buy and bought that shit for myself. And within like the first year, he broke my laptop and never got it replaced. He claimed he would get it fixed, never got it fixed.
Yeah.
After that, I bought him a cell phone and I bought him a laptop eventually. Like after him doing that, I bought him a laptop. Spent all 2020 paying it off. Because he claimed that he needed that to make music. But he always needed something else to make music. And it was just like, bitch, you got files all over the place full of music. You don't need to make any more music. Mm-hmm. You need to actually put out the music and stop fucking wasting time. Like, but again, I'm still allowing myself to believe I'm in that victim story of, this is this other person's fault and this is this other thing's fault. So I'm just like, it's this thing and it's that thing, when it was really no more things. Yeah. He just kept moving the target along and just squeezing more and more out of me and other people. And that's really what it came down to. So the reason I was so damn angry in the end when you knew about it is because I wanted to fly. He ended up going to Mexico, and I wanted to fly to Mexico and get that fucking laptop back. And I wanted to pay some Mexican goons to pull up and just do a quick, beating on site. No big deal. I was ready. I was asking around. Like I was really ready to fight. Like when things like became so clear to me in the end. And then eventually, like I did this whole spiritual ritual thing in Puerto Rico, went in the water, turned around, didn't look at it. It was this whole thing. And when that moment happened, I didn't forget the things that happened completely. I forgot a lot of the details though.
Yeah.
And I realized that I had left like the majority of the resentment in the water. Like I didn't feel the need to go pay somebody to fight him or something. It's just like
in totality is everything. You was feeling the hurt from everything that happened.
Yeah, we mean the end. Yeah.
Like, he was basically using and abusing you, basically.
Yeah,
Taking.
Yeah, but I was using him too. I was using him too in the ways that I was. Because the thing is, I'm just, again, this art story. Like, I'm just attached to this creativity, this creative energy. So.
Oh, you keep repeating that. So
that's the thing I was like, but the way in which I was using him, it wasn't hurting him. The way in which he was using me was hurting my pockets and he was actually not giving a shit about how it was affecting another person. But, that's what he was in that story of I'm survival mode. I gotta take because the world's not gonna give me nothing. It's like, the world's not gonna give you nothing if you think the world owes you in the way that you do. So you're just gonna keep burning your bridges, having fucked up experiences because you think that it just needs to go a certain way, and then the world shows you it doesn't go that way. Yeah. So back to the downfall. You're asking.
What was the part?
The official.
Like, all right, yes.
Well, the official downfall really was like.
And he never put out no music.
No.
Damn.
No. He was always I'm putting out this life tape or whatever the fuck, and he was always some bullshit. He was a talented
dude. Like he had a special. Yeah, he had his own style, I would say.
He did, but a lot of the stuff he was singing about, it wasn't real because he wasn't really living the life that he was trying to pretend he was living. So when you think about it, just on a bigger scale, how can you sell something that's not real? People picked up he was full of shit. And I know that now because when I was helping him put on events and stuff, it was hard to get people to come out. But again, when I was dealing with him, he was big in that story of, people don't support and complaining about people not supporting and people owe you, that kind of energy. Yeah. So people wouldn't support and that would be a story. But I realized he was manifesting that. He was always complaining about it. Like that was just, he was creating that story, but also him being how he was. I get why people didn't support. They just felt it was bullshit. And I noticed that in me putting on shows with him and people wouldn't support. But when I started doing my art, people always show up for me. I never had a problem with no one supporting me. So it wasn't something that people don't do, but maybe people don't do that if they feel a certain way about the thing, So
yeah, that's a fact. If you present yourself in a way, people are like, they buy into you, not the
exactly.
The
and I think
that's what it is.
He was repelling that when I was getting people. A lot of people came because of me. They would come to his stuff because of me. I even had some of my clients from the Nets come to his bullshit shows. That I definitely feel like that pissed me off that some of those people saw me have events and he was performing. And then he would get up on a stage and not even fully sing a song. That was another thing. He would sabotage the concerts.
Wait.
There were so many times, bro, that I contacted this place, got the gig. And then a nigga got up there and was just not really singing even one whole song and embarrassing me.
So what he would do?
I'm here to provide the vibes. Bitch, no, you're not. You're here to give a concert. That's literally, what are you talking about? We would get, oh my God, we would get into it. It would be, picture it. Oh my God. And it was I know how rigid I am. So it's the issues that seeing my mom being controlling, certain ways that my mom shows up, I get why she shows up that way when my dad would be lax in certain things. I then come and attract this relationship and that same thing would happen where it's I don't want to be controlling I'm her.
Tearing up because I'm picturing it in my head.
Oh my God. Dude, you remember that the Harlem event?
Yes.
You don't remember that night? Didn't you help
I had to
something?
DJ. I was DJing.
You remember him singing?
Freestyling. Yeah, we started.
Why was he freestyling when he had music to sing?
He said, "Put on a beat." So
and that's what she said. The woman was just I was expecting a show. And I'm bitch, me too. I can't explain this.
I see. Y'all asked me to DJ, but I didn't know how his shows went. He gave me songs. I don't think we went through those songs. It was put on a beat.
Saying, he would just sabotage it.
I'm a freestyle. Put on a beat. But then
I think he was extremely insecure about everything. He just was extremely insecure, man. That's what it comes down to.
That was a show. That was part of the show.
That's not a show. Would you go see Drake or any of these niggas and you just go up there and niggas is just talking about they gonna provide vibes and they don't they don't play no song from their album?
Kanye West, he'll go somewhere and just talk for 2 hours.
Okay, we're not talking about Kanye. We're talking about everybody else.
Nah.
And Kanye's doing that now. Yeah, At some point, Kanye was performing music, right? Yeah. He wasn't doing that initially. And this dude don't know nobody yet. So, you can't just start off providing vibes.
Your first impression is...
That doesn't make sense. You're not at a level to be providing vibes, bitch. Nobody asked you to provide vibes. They asked you to play songs that you made. So what you mean you provide? Why did we take the time? Why did we take the time to send this lady the music for you to turn around and not do any of the songs? And had the nerve to want to have sex with me later that night. I'm
oh my God.
Bro, I'm livid right now. I don't how do you think this is going to go? You didn't, you just fumbled it. She paid it. She's I'm going to pay you because that was the arrangement. But I didn't get what I paid for. I felt crazy when that happened.
And the Harlem thing was, you got the free hotel and everything, right?
No, it wasn't free. I had to pay for that too. But it was a discount. But still.
That was nice, yeah.
It was a nice setup and he fucking ruined it. He would ruin everything. Any time I would get something, he would ruin it. That's how it would go. I'm at least not doing that. I'm not ruining stuff for myself. I might not be putting myself all the way out there, but I'm definitely not ruining anything for myself. I see an opportunity, I go after it. I've been creating opportunities for myself. I'm not ruining them.
Yeah.
I might have stuff I need to work through, but it's not like that.
We've seen your artwork on your website. Can you bring this to West, and you bring a bucket of chicken? That would be crazy.
That's what I'm saying, bro. That's what I'm saying. You hear how crazy that sounds, right?
Got it.
Actually that. And expecting to get paid while you didn't even
I get it now. I just called me one day. Yo, can you DJ this? Yeah, cool. And I just thought that was part of his show. Because how he is. It fit his personality.
Yeah, and that's great.
Like
but
freestyling, singing, rapping, and the way
you
he
over
did
there
it.
crying. Like, like it's ridiculous. That's right.
I'm playing it in my head, like him going on stage.
Butchering it.
And how he performed.
Bruh, I can't make this
I'm gonna
up.
talk about this on Patreon because I can't do it. What I want to say, I can't do it because the people gonna know who I'm talking about. And,
okay.
Yeah, so I don't want to say anything.
Oh, do we have to record something separate?
No.
Oh, okay,
I'm just gonna talk about this episode.
I
more
see.
in detail.
Oh, okay.
And show pictures and show.
Oh, you're gonna put him out there on there?
I could do that.
You can.
People gotta pay to listen to that.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
So,
you have pictures?
Because you remember how he sang. You remember how he rapped. So I'm picturing that in my head. So I want to go on my Patreon and just show people like this is probably what it sounded like. It was like Pootie Tang.
This is one of these Grand Rising niggas. Yep,
yes.
This is it.
It was like a Pootie Tang concert. Timmy Tao,
Yes.
It was one of those. So
yes,
I'm playing it back in my head. Yes,
you know. So.
All right, official downhill part. What was the moment that it was like I can't do this no more?
What's the thing? He broke up with me.
What?
So that's the part that's even more crazy. Is like
I never seen a
no, but so okay. So you gotta understand how
he gave up the bag. This is crazy.
So this is really what the real downhill part was when I started working on myself for real.
Okay.
So so let's backtrack.
When a person starts seeing that, it can.
So 2020 comes, right? COVID. I see the government doing all this bullshit. I feel the way I feel about all those things. So that starts happening. Everybody's inside scared of something. I'm outside. I'm in grass. I'm out here like coming into my own with myself outside. I see other people kind of doing the same thing with themselves. And I remember I was turning 32 that year, and it was my birthday. We went to the park or something, and
What's
at
your
this
sign?
point,
What's your sign?
I'm a Taurus.
What's his sign?
Libra.
I don't know. So people.
Oil and water, bro. Imagine oil and water. You have oil in the pan, just
Don't-
throw up some water in that bitch, and it explodes and ruins and burns the kitchen or whatever.
Okay.
That's how that relationship was. And I'm not saying like that's like a general thing of Libras and Tauruses.
Yeah.
However, he's an air sign, I'm an earth sign. We're literally opposites, right? I'm trying to be on the ground. He's trying to float around and fucking be all over.
All right.
And I used to tell myself like, it's balanced. No, bitch, it's not balanced. That is like literally that's you going in the wrong direction for yourself, like period. So anyway, 32nd birthday comes, 2020. Go to the park, come back home. And suddenly I'm just like, I get this itch in the drawer. Haven't drawn in since I was 16. So we're talking 16 years later.
Gotcha.
Something made me want to draw that day. I take a marker and I draw something. And I draw that thing. I don't like start doing exhibits or something right after that. But that moment was like the start of me really starting like, yo, something's just wrong in my life. Like, what is happening? So a couple months later, it's like this whole crazy thing happens. It's my mom's birthday. My mom like was upset with me because he was like smoking in the room, and like my niece was there with and my that's the whole thing. But anyway, like they blamed anything he would do, they would immediately blame on me all the time.
Company,
you know, right? Exactly. Which I get, but at the same time, it's like you guys have an independent relationship with him. Like you can't always just like put that on me. But I'm in their house, so like they could, right? Okay, so. In any event, her birthday comes the next day, and like I go to wish her happy birthday, and she just immediately starts telling me how I ruined the last few days of her life or something. I'm like, what the fuck? I was like, I don't want to deal with this. I'm not doing this. And I literally just got up and I just walked out the door with him. He came with me. He supported me. We left. I just went no contact with my family for the day. Like I was just like, we went to a hotel that I paid for. But yeah, we went to a hotel. We just like left. Like it was this whole thing. After that happened, I tried to like mend things with my mom and just have this like deep talk with her. That got fumbled too. She like turned around and manipulated that whole thing. I'm just like, what is wrong? So anyway, I go over my finances at some point and I'm like, yo, I'm spending mad money on eating out because I'm paying for 2 people, by the way. But anyway, I look at my finances. I dropped like $600 in the last 6 weeks on eating out. And I'm like, damn. A few days later, I go on Instagram. There's this therapist that I've been following for a minute, and she releases this program for women, like a group cohort thing. And it was like a few $100s. And any other time I would have been cheap and been like,
Yeah.
Wow, I just spent all this money on food. Like, I don't have it for this program. But instead, for whatever reason, I looked at that amount and I said, nah, if I could spend this money on food, I absolutely need to spend this money on this therapy program.
Right.
So I get in this women's cohort thing. And it's crazy because I'm in the program thinking I'm there because of my family dynamic. I don't realize that everything in my life is about to just blow the fuck up right after this. Like, I have no idea because I'm thinking everything is just like my family's the issue. So it's crazy because like I had to do a questionnaire during that time and I did the questionnaire with him. So a lot of the stuff I wrote on there wasn't even true. It was stuff that he was trying to convince me about myself. You know, he's like, yeah, you definitely do this and you definitely do that. And when I went back over the questionnaire after the breakup, when I saw it, I was like, oh my God, like I was checking these boxes because he was telling me I was like this when it wasn't really the truth.
Doing it as a group.
So anyway, so I go through the therapy program and all this stuff starts to happen. He ends up leaving New York and going to California supposedly to make music. And that was the last time I saw him. Oh, you saw him in California, right? Yeah. So he left October 2020 and to go out there. And then like a month later, I go to Florida to visit some of my aunts. I end up falling out with them. I haven't talked to them chicks since.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I like blocked basically a whole quarter of my family, except for a couple of cousins specifically. I ended up cutting like everybody off. Like it ended up being this whole thing. I ended up getting into a thing with my mom when I got back. Like it was really a crazy, crazy time. And he's still in California. So I'm like coming into these understandings of ways that I've showed up, and I'm like, oh man, this thing happened. I'm like texting him like, oh man, I realized I did this thing to you, and so there was a time in a car, we had some experience in a car where he was always antagonizing me on, like he liked to just do things that were irritating, and he would want to see how far he could push people, and he'd push you and then turn around and be like, you know, the narcissist thing where they'll do some shit and then act like they don't know why the person's reacting the way that they're reacting. So he was doing that to me when I was driving. I think I like pushed him because I was trying to drive and operate a vehicle to get us home safe, and he was actually disrupting me. And so like something hit me to like apologize to him about that thing. I'm like, you know, like I didn't like how I responded or whatever. Like all this stuff is coming up for me. He starts using that to like flip it and manipulate. So this is not, now he's, me working on myself was giving him ammo to things to guilt trip me, to squeeze all he could for the last like few days. That's basically what happened. So it was like, I'd say this thing to him and then he responds the way he responds, and he would say, he was like, oh, I'm going to break up with you. Like, I don't want to be with an abuser. And I'm just like,
really?
Yeah. So I'm like, and I'm believing like, man, I'm an abuser. I got to the point that I called the suicide hotline. Like I was really sad and depressed, and like it was bad. It was really bad. And it was always like a moving target. So then it's just like, oh, he's out in California still. He's like, oh, this movie that came out, Soul. Like it was always, you know, oh, I kind of want to break up with you, kind of don't, like back and forth. He's like, oh, watch this movie and then let's talk. I like a fucking homework assignment. Like watch this movie and then let's talk tomorrow. And then tomorrow comes, he doesn't answer. So then at this point, he stops answering my calls. Now he's doing this whole thing, like he said it's like physically hurting him to answer calls for me and stuff. Like, and it would be like hot and cold. Like 1 minute he's doing that, and then like a few days later he's nice again. And it's because he's trying to get money for something, or he needed something or whatever. It was something. So this starts happening at the end of 2020. 2021 comes. The start of the year, I actually take this trip to New Orleans by myself. And I have like this amazing time alone, and I'm just like reflecting, and it's great. But the more I'm getting into it myself is the more every minute is a problem with him. Like it's just like at its height, every minute is just some issue. And I'm like, what is going on? And mind you, we're having all these issues and he's all the way in California. And he's, you know, over there telling people I'm controlling him and all this stuff. And I'm just sitting there like, I'm not even talking to you every day. So like, what are you even talking about? Like, it was just always some story. So fast forward, eventually he ends up going to Mexico, and then he needed money for an Airbnb or something like that, to use my card to get the Air. It was something like that, and I think I like helped him pay for this Airbnb, and he was
Shanelle.
And then it was really an Airbnb for like him and other people, including this girl that he started seeing out there who apparently looked like me. Yeah. So anyway, some girl. So he goes to Mexico. The few other people that were out there with him ended up going out there with him. They eventually all end up leaving him in Mexico, and only one other person was left with him or something. But that's a fast forward. But basically, it just got down to the last squeeze out of whatever I can manipulate you out of, and then eventually it's just like we're just cutting stuff off. And then my sister was like, "Hey, like, I don't really like him using my Amazon Prime." And I'm just like, and I was like, "Oh yeah, you can." At this point, I was first saying like you could let him use it. I'm like, you can cut it off. And he was just, he was mad. He was mad that got cut off. And I remember him saying that he told me that I ruined his whole life. And I remember like being like, wait, what? Like, what are you talking about? I ruined your life. Like, but whatever. I'm still in the story of this is so sad. I can't believe it. Like, I'm actually sad that this is ending at the time. Like, he's flaring up, all this back and forth, and I'm crying. My friend and I go stay at this hotel in Brooklyn. In Long Island City, right at the height of this is basically about to end. And I'm there like convincing myself like maybe we're supposed to meet up months from now or years from now, and all this stuff I'm like telling myself. And she's like, girl, no. So she was like, I want to do some like spiritual stuff with you. Like, and I'm like, okay. And I go to grab a sweater. It's his sweater. And she's like, I don't think you should wear that. And I'm like, no, it's fine. Like, I think it'll be okay. And she's like, no. And then I remember there was something I had to get like food downstairs or something. I ran downstairs. Afterwards, she told me that she was doing all types of conjuring when I was out the room. She was saging things and doing all this stuff because she was like, this girl's in bad shape right now. She's in real bad shape. So anyway, I'm still believing that there's hope at this point, even though things are ending. We're kind of like mutually agreeing to end cordially. And then a few days later, that's when my mentor like hits me up and I tell her that I'm sad and I'm going through this thing. And she was also dealing with like a narcissistic dude who was using her too. Yeah. Not nearly as bad as this. Like, fortunately, I think she had only like put his name on an apartment or something like that. But she did not invest in this person at all in the same way. She helped him a little bit and like that was it. But she was like, yo, I think you should look up this term narcissist. Like, look this thing up. So she starts like sending me information. And I'm reading information. As I'm reading information, it's like everybody's dealing with basically the same person. It's just different names. It's all the same thing, the same tactics, the same, you do this, they do that. Like, you move right, they move left. Like, there's just a consistent way that they're all moving. And that's when I realized, like, I wasn't even with anybody. Like, I didn't know who the fuck I was with. None of this was real. So at that point, I'm like, oh, and then I started getting, then I'm finding out, like, a guy that I knew, he was like, oh, I thought that was we didn't even talk about the whole open relationship stuff with that. But yeah, we were in a pretend open relationship, which was really just him. Cheating. He could be open and then I couldn't be open. So it was only like women and this whole thing. So in any event, he was, one of his friends was like, man, I feel so bad. Like, he had dropped him off to some girl's place or something. Cause even while we were together in the end, like, he was still having other girls or whatever. Wow. And his friends just thought that we were in an open relationship. But it's like, it's weird because they thought we were in an open relationship, but they also wouldn't say these things to me. They think we're open, but they didn't want to like say that they dropped him off because they're like, I don't really know how this works or whatever. So all of this information starts coming out in the end after the fact. So it went from we're staying cordial to I'm blocking him literally on everything and sending, I want to find out who can beat him up in Mexico. Like, that's how the switch came from me basically getting other information.
Was he trying to reach out to you when you did this?
Well, I blocked him on everything.
You know what I'm saying? And then, through other people? I mean, you said you had mutual friends. And...
No, so he fades away. So literally, like, initially. Because so here how narcs, the way they work, like, they're looking for supply. They're looking for the thing that's giving them something. So he's supplied up right now with his little cult. The people followed him down to Mexico. You got the girl or whatever. So he's getting fulfillment. He doesn't need to chase me in this moment anymore. He done extracted what he needed to extract from me. he was finished with me.
Gotcha.
I was in the discarding phase of the cycle, if you know what that is. So once they come to discard you, they don't need you, and they treat you like you're worthless.
What was the reason why that he went to LA?
To make music.
Oh.
Again with that, yeah. With that.
Where I met him, the guy was building out a studio.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but that guy that was building a studio, that was like somebody he knows that was doing that. He didn't go out there to work with him specifically.
Oh,
that was just something they were trying to do. And then that guy was even like, yo, that guy actually is how I started to, when I was coming into the understanding, he said to me, and I'll use the term Malcolm, he said, at some point along the line, I realized that Malcolm wasn't a real person. And when he said that shit to me, like my whole world just like flipped. I was like, that's exactly what it is. This man was not a real person.
You have another Grand Rising, looking at another Grand Rising. It's like, oh, that's a fake Grand Rising. Dude.
Yeah.
Because that other guy was in that.
No, yeah, he's like big in Jesus now and stuff. Yeah,
he is?
Mm-hmm. He makes like Christian music. Are we talking about the same person?
Yeah, the light-skinned dude. Yeah, I haven't looked at his profile in a while. But damn.
No, he's a full-out Christian rapper now. So, yeah. Like,
it was a mental health rapper, now Christian rapper?
Christian mental health.
Is he real?
He's real though. He's a good dude.
Right.
I mean, I don't know. I don't hang out with these people anymore.
I don't know if he was big on mental health.
Yeah, no, he is, but he's a real person. He means well.
All right, cool.
Yeah, oh, big time. He used to come and support everything. Like he really, really believed in the messaging until he couldn't anymore. So
yeah.
Same thing, you know.
It was believable. Hey.
I guess.
Now,
yeah, you saying it. You fell for it too.
Yeah, I fell for it. Yeah. I used to read the captions.
God.
Kings and queens.
Oh my God! Please do not.
I used to feel uplifted, like Malcolm had me.
Stop, yo, stop! Like that, you making me want to fight, bro. Like you making me want to fight. I'm not playing.
So Malcolm disappears, and where do you go from here?
Oh, right when the breakup happened.
Yeah.
Oh man. So first of all,
this is when you got rowdy. I want to tell my story. This is what. Like,
yeah. Well, not even that. Sure, but right when it happened, then I started doing this research. I started seeing this, but I don't even need the research. Within the first week, I'm up. No money is coming out of my account. Oh. I'm up. I'm like, wait a minute. Everything got better within 1 week. Within 1 week of it ending, everything was actually better. Yeah. And most of the problems that were going on in my life were all connected to him. Gotcha. That shit I don't got to deal with. This shit, it was just like the weight of shit that I didn't have to deal with anymore got completely lifted. So I'm like, I don't even know what to do with myself. Like, because it's like, I'm sad and I'm going through all the things because you know, when you first go through that experience, there's a lot of gaslighting and lying that went on. A lot of things that I believed about myself that I'm finding out now aren't true. So before you can even be accountable for why you even got into that and how you showed up and all that, you've first been sitting here lying to yourself for years. So I had to go through that part of it where I just validated myself for a second. I didn't have that.
Right.
I thought all of that shit was completely my fault. I'm only just finding out that it wasn't just me that was doing something. Like I was literally with somebody that was taking advantage of me. So it took that experience for me to just be able to kind of get centered with myself to then start to do even deeper work than that. So then I start traveling. First of all, like I'm just hustling at this point. Like I'm working with TaskRabbit. I'm just moving and I'm driving. I had my car at the time. So I'm moving throughout the city a lot. I'm moving around a lot. So I start traveling. I'm going to Florida. Ooh.
No, bring the mic in.
I'm going to Florida. I had a client that relocated to Atlanta, so I went down to Atlanta and like I set this whole thing up so that I could travel around things I was doing. And then do I talk about Jabari and like how, because that's a part of it?
You want to name? He's cool with being named?
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm not hiding him. Yeah.
I met him in LA as well.
Yeah.
So your current partner is
so who? I met so as it turns out, Malcolm is like low key a little, matchmaker, you know what I'm saying, by accident. So I met Jabari through Malcolm.
Now why was he in LA?
To make music. He was out there to make music with him because he produces and he does sound engineering and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
So he went out there. It was a gang of different, like a couple of different people that went out there to work on something together. And it ended up being this whole situation where like he ended up having to cut ties with them too.
Really?
Yeah. So it
Wait,
is.
Jabari had to cut ties with Malcolm?
Yeah. Well, Malcolm was like getting everybody to gang up against him. But I don't want to go into his story, but yeah. So he had his own experience with Malcolm. So I had actually known Jabari's mother prior to through Malcolm because Jabari is like a cousin of one of Malcolm's friends, and I had come into contact with Jabari's mom, not knowing that was Jabari's mom. I met Jabari after the fact, didn't know the two were connected. So like all that, so whatever. So in any event, after the breakup happens, Jabari's mom messaged me. I messaged her because she would send me stuff about crypto and like business things or whatever. And I was like, hey, I'm sorry I fell off. I left her this voice note where I'm crying in the voice note. I'm like, you know, I've just been going through this whole experience with Malcolm and all this. And I'm like weeping. Apparently she plays this voice note in front of Jabari. And so she leaves me a voice note and she's just like, oh my God, like, you know, I'm so sorry. Like he did something to my son too. And I'm like, her son. And I'm like, oh, that guy Jabari that I met that random time. Like I didn't even put two and two together. I had just met Jabari as just somebody I met one time. That was it. But not really, because when he went out to California before Malcolm went out there. So there was some like weird thing where he was kind of lagging out there. And so I was like, oh, I feel bad that he's out there and Malcolm is trying to sabotage this shit again. Right. And so I started communicating with Jabari for some reason, whatever. Anyway, I was like working with them directly because I was like helping to organize the whole Airbnb. Right. So I was like in touch with him. But again, nothing. Like I wasn't thinking of anything like that. Like even when this whole moment happened with his mom, like I was speaking to him just purely from a friend place. Like I wasn't even looking at him that way. Like I didn't mean for this to be this thing that's we all possibly like a get back.
For him to potentially do the episode and y'all was on a friend level at that time, right?
Yeah. And friendship is very important in our relationship. So we're still on a friend level in that way. But obviously it's more than that now. Right. But shoot, I was just saying something and I forgot.
That you got met up on a friendship level, that basically what I'm saying.
Yeah, that. So yeah. In any event, we were really like solely friends. We met, but that's what I was saying. I was saying I didn't mean for it to be this petty thing of like dealing with this person that also has issues with him. Like it was totally like serendipitous. It was not. It wasn't some get back type of thing.
Yeah, it was just y'all connected.
Would he be probably devastated if he knew, or does he know? I don't know. Maybe. I don't really give a fuck, to be honest with you. But like, as it turns out, he was a matchmaker, and that's only relevant because then I started connecting with Jabari. We're in a polyamorous relationship. If you want to talk about that, we can. I know we already going long, but a
little bit, because how did Malcolm introduce you first? That fake open relationship thing?
Too fake. Yeah. So he had introduced me to that, but that wasn't really it. Like it was really just like trying to find a way to cheat and in peace, because it was like, oh, like I could do this, you can't do this. Like there was just all these restrictions, when if it was really open and free in the way that he was saying, it wouldn't be that way. So this was my first experience where I was watching this operate a completely different way. Because Jabari had a girlfriend when I met him, but they were in an open relationship. So that was a polyamorous relationship. So that worked out the way that it worked out. Again, it's a whole nother episode. But anyway, so we got together, and then by the time we finally did anything or connected in that way, which was like August of that year, he was relocating to Ghana like a few weeks after that. And ironically, he kept like pushing his trip back a little bit because like we were kind of like on the brink of something happening, even though no one had really said that. And I was still kind of in question of whether or not am I into this person? Because I was telling myself, I had a very black and white way of seeing the world before. I was telling myself, like, I never wanted to date someone that was a friend. Like, I was very against this idea before. Yeah. And my cousin actually had made a comment to me, like, maybe a few weeks or a month before, where she had said, you know, you have all these good men around you and you just friend zone everybody. Like, you just have a bunch of friends. You won't deal with any of them. Like, why? How come? And I'm like, damn, that is kind of true. Like, I don't know. I just was like, I don't know. Like, I just had all these reasons why it wouldn't work, you know? And he's like one of the guys from Albany. Like, he's a tourist. He's Jamaican also, and that's Jabari's a Jamaican tourist. I was like, oh, that would never work because that, like, and it's like that's not this.
Wait, Jabari went to Albany too?
No.
Oh, somebody else. Oh,
somebody else.
Gotcha.
I'll tell you the name afterwards.
Gotcha.
But
All right.
he don't matter. But anyway, I had vowed I would never deal with a Jamaican tourist after that experience, and then I end up like with a Jamaican tourist, which is really funny. Yeah. And their birthday's like a day apart.
Wow.
But anyway, he relocated to Ghana, and then I went out to Ghana to visit him, and ended up staying out there for 3 months. So it just started this whole thing of like traveling, and then when I came back to the States, that's how something happened. I'm not going to get into details of that, but that's when I started exhibiting and like putting myself out there like as an artist, like presenting that way. So that's what happened. I started to come into my own and find myself, so I hope I answered that.
Yeah. How much how much credit do you give Malcolm for who you are today?
Well, so the thing is, I would give that experience credit. I'd be hesitant to just give him credit because I know he's telling his own story in his head that this is but it's like, it's not that. It's what it actually is, again, I'm chasing this thing. This person is this way, and I'm seeing that thing through this person. And it took me being in that and having a whole bunch of other insecurities coming up at the same time. Yeah. And then, stuff is happening in the world. I'm seeing the way things are going down, and I'm like, something's off. I don't know what the fuck the thing is that's off, but I know that something is telling me to go within. And so it was just like a perfect storm of things. He was a part of it for sure. He was definitely a part of it. But I'm not going to credit my development solely to him. Yeah, no. Situation. But I would definitely say he was a part of it. Absolutely. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. What was the biggest lesson learned from the whole relationship?
The biggest lesson, I would say, you have to validate yourself. Mm-hmm. And if you don't validate yourself, you're always seeking that externally.
That's true.
And that's how I was in that cycle, is because I just was so insecure, so unsure of myself, so not confident, so all of those things. Even though if you ask me, I'd tell you, no, I definitely am that, or I definitely am fine. And you think you're fine, but you see certain things happening in your life and they're an indication that you're not fine, So I think coming into my own and understanding how I show up in the world, how I want to show up, like what I want to attract, and the fact that I don't need to chase things. Like if something is supposed to come to me, it's gonna come to me, or be, we're gonna be around each other. I won't have to manipulate a situation for us to talk or stuff. Like, when I was young, it's like you just want this guy to like you. It's like, I don't need to want nobody to like me. I don't give a shit if anybody likes me. Like, you don't have to like me. And I mean, like, be attracted to me or want to date me. I just mean that, like, you don't have to want those things. Like, you don't. If you do, then we're talking maybe if I'm into you also. Like, but it's not, I'm not happy to be anywhere. Yeah. Wherever I go, whatever rooms I go, like I want to know that my energy is wanted in the space. It's not that I'm begging to be somewhere. So gotcha. that was definitely where I was with myself at the time, and that I would not be doing again.
No, I'll pull you to the side like, yo, look, you can't be doing this. That's good. Somebody going through a heartbreak or a breakup, what's some advice you would give them?
Well, for starters, I mean, just from a spiritual perspective, I say that, every experience that we have, we attract ourselves. We attract ourselves over and over again in different dynamics, in different ways. So whatever it is that you saw in this person or that wasn't good or whatever, like, you have to actually face yourself. Yeah. That's not something you could run from. It's not everybody's fault. It's not all men's fault, all women's fault. Like, that type of stuff means you're not really working through things with yourself if you have to blanket. You know what I'm saying? If I have to step out in the world and be guarded and treat men like shit in general because of someone else, that means that I'm not actually working through how I got in that space, and also trusting my own discernment. Right. If I gotta treat everybody the same, that means I don't trust my own judgment. So it's actually saying something negative about me if that's the case. So I would hope that people, take that time to actually sit with themselves and see what it is that they want, what it is they don't want, who it is that they actually are, how it is they actually show up in the world. If they didn't have these obligations, if they didn't have to play whatever role they had to play, like, how would they show up? and then know that they don't have to have this urgency. Like, you'll attract what you're supposed to attract. You don't have to, you're not running out of time. You know, all that stuff is a story. It's not something you actually have to take on. So
I like that. That's different from all my episodes.
yeah.
That's crazy. In your coping and healing, do you feel like the mentor played a bigger role, or you being this artist played a bigger role in your healing?
The mentors.
Yeah, you
Oh.
had mentors, therapists.
Oh, no.
That came in your life after.
That's interesting you asked that. So, no. So I would say, so I did that therapy program, as I mentioned, but to me, you know, the therapy was really post-therapy. Okay. When you out of therapy, when you just like out in the world and then you got the tools and you're just like having experiences and stuff, like a lot of the reflection and things that came up by myself after the fact. Doing things like being in Ghana where the service ain't the same, you know what I'm saying? Phone service ain't the same, it's different. You know, I'm having interactions with my relatives and I'm realizing like, yo, like they don't really give a, as long as I'm doing what they want me to do, they don't care about any of these other things. So like, I have to be the one protecting myself. I have to be the one looking out for myself. And that came from post-therapy. Like that wasn't therapy itself. So yeah, it was me sitting with myself. And then art, of course, helped with that because it's an outlet. It's a way in which I'm communicating without words. You know, a lot of the things that I make, I don't even understand what I make when I'm making it. Mm-hmm. It's after I sit there and look at it that I'm like, oh shit, this is what I was saying. I didn't even know I was saying this. I didn't even know this needed to come out. You know, so it's a lot of sitting with self where I get the information from. Mentors help. Don't get me wrong. Like, you know, my mentor, when the initial moment happened, absolutely, you know, but most of the work is just me. It's just me going through, having experiences, having to end relationships with other people after that. Like I had all types of different experiences since then. And I've even now since then, I'm like, damn, like maybe I didn't need to cut that person off at that time. Even when I reached out to you, it was just like, I was in a certain space with myself and I was responding how I was responding at the time. And maybe that response is necessary at times, but is it necessary in this particular circumstance? Right. Or am I just doing the thing where I'm just trying to protect myself and I'm not really trusting my discernment, like I just said? So, you know, that takes you going through the experience and then, you know, a nudge comes, you see the person online or something. You know, I was just like, damn, like, I think I fucked that up, or I think I moved too fast on this thing. And, you know, you only know that when you're having experiences. Sure. You can't really talk with a third party about all of that and figure everything out. You got to go out and live, and then that's how you figure things out.
That's a fact. Mm-hmm. Last but not least, the song you like to dedicate to Malcolm, and why?
All right, so I originally picked "Thank You" by Bow Wow. That was my original thought.
I want to thank you. I remember that song.
Yeah, but I changed. The only reason I thought about it is because it was a thank you. Like I wanted to just be like, yo, I actually am thankful for this experience. Mm-hmm. But then my dumb ass was just like, nah, man, we gonna do this the right way. So then I picked the song by Tracy. What's her name? Tracy Spencer. All About You.
I don't think I ever heard that song.
All About Me. All About You and Not About. All About You. Yeah. So it's a song where she's literally talking about dealing with the narcissist, like where everything is just like, it's always about them. Like everything's about them. And they make you believe that you're making everything about you, but really everything is always about them. It always comes back to them. Nothing is satisfying to them. Everything's a problem. Like it's just this cycle that you're just never going to get out of until you just get out of it. Like it wasn't until I left the situation that I realized that there was never going to be an ending. There was always going to be something that was wrong the next day. Like we were always working towards this peace that we were just never going to get to because he was always going to find a way to make another moving target so that we're at odds and I'm in the corner beating myself up while he's doing something else. Like that's just how it kept happening. So have you forgiven yourself? Oh yeah. Like that's how I was able to do this episode. Because I couldn't do it before because like, I had so much shame. Even coming here, like I started to get filled with anxiety. I started to cry. Like things started to come up for me because it's like this is so embarrassing. I could see it that way. This is embarrassing. I should feel shame for this. Like, this is a bad thing that this thing happened and I went through this experience. Like, people looking at the numbers and hearing what like, you must be stupid. But it's like, yo, anybody that thinks I'm stupid, like, you ain't live. You only have a certain amount of experiences then, clearly, because like, it's not about stupidity, right? You're talking like on a black and white level, this is dumb. But
it was your first relationship.
Yeah, exactly. But when you think about all of the other circumstances, and also, again, processing that when people aren't working through emotions and certain things that come up for them, you find other coping mechanisms. Some people it's alcohol. Yeah. Some people it's parties, whatever. Other people, it'll just be unhealthy dynamics. And those people be drinking alcohol too and smoking too. You know what I mean? Like, they coping through it, but they're all ways that we cope. And, you know, it might cost a lot of money and waste a lot of fucking time. But, you know, sometimes the education program is longer than others. And,
That's
you
true.
know,
which is the reason why it's hard for me to get guests, because I guess they come to realization, oh, this might make me look dumb. Oh, yeah. I can't tell that. Oh, and
it's a vulnerability. Like,
I could tell when it happens because they wait till like the day before or like the day of to
cancel.
Yeah, to cancel.
Yeah,
and it's like, oh, they probably realize.
Yeah.
I'm about to do this shit. Damn.
Yeah, damn. I have to tell the story and actually sit through that. And that's a big point, because I think it's really commendable whenever you've had anyone on here sit up here and just be like,
this is what happened. Yeah.
But again, I think it's easier to be more honest when you're also being accountable for why you were even in that.
Right.
I think when you're sitting up here and it's just like, he did this, they did this, like, you can only get so deep with that. And so I don't know, it's when you're diving all the way in for real, and you come out and you're able to have recognized like the ways in which you showed up, then it becomes easier to tell the story, because you then know you're not stupid. You just know that you're human.
That's true.
You know?
Man, this has been a great episode. I know I'm gonna have to chop and screw it a little bit.
I hope you can piece it together, because I feel like we can't.
It was a good conversation. I just know the listeners have to know that I seen the person in real time. I seen it with you. I know who the person is.
I'm trying to. I'm so sorry, Llama. I owe you something because of the fact that you even was a part of some of that. But you was doing the DJ. Like, he was really encouraging you with the DJing.
Yeah, like I said, he was good with his words, because he'll make you jump out a window or something. Like he used to move and like, yeah, but like mad, like peaceful looking. Like you said, it wasn't him, but it was like.
Listen, I'm gonna just leave you with this last point, because you said talking about peaceful looking. It's funny because I met this dude through him, and now we're in touch, and I had to link up with him last year for something, and I forgot how the conversation came up about me and Malcolm like possibly ever having to fight, and he was just like, he was like, he couldn't fight. You would definitely beat him up. I was like, you right? I know you. Exactly. Thank you. Because I feel like I would have whooped his ass. Thank you very much. That's all I wanted to know. Skinny. I'm not going to fight him, but I just want to know that I could have fought him.
Yeah.
That's something that's been important to me. And I'm just like, over the years, I've gotten more confident in feeling like if we had to square up, I feel like I could toss him around. I think so. He's probably mad skinny right now.
Right with his word. Yeah, King. You could do this.
Stop, please, stop. Triggered. I changed my song. Janae Aiko Triggered.
Yo, I'm really in my head just laughing at the performance thing. I wish people could understand and laugh.
He just did not sing a goddamn song usually.
So for the listeners, I'm sorry. It was an inside joke. But yeah, I'm gonna laugh after this. I'm gonna laugh in the car because I can just picture it.
I might take that ride to the train station. Actually, I'm looking at how late. I thought we were gonna end at like 8:00.
But where can people find you, Shanelle? Any last words, everything like that?
Oh yeah, I'm an artist. I mean, I don't know when this is dropping.
Soon.
Yeah,
I don't have an episode. I haven't had an episode in like a month.
Yeah, I'm doing art shit all the time. So I'm going to Miami for Art Basel. I have a ton of exhibits and things going on out there. I'll be teaching workshops and all types of stuff. I'll be selling art. I am selling art My website will be updated and you can buy the art on my
proud
website.
You can say that now.
It technically exists, but don't go on there right now, please, because nothing is edited. However, it does exist. It's my full name. You can find me on Instagram, Shanelle Julia Rosita, Shanelle. I'm not named after the perfume. I'm actually named after Shane, which is a Western that my dad used to watch. Anyway, so yeah, and I'm on Twitter. I'm on Twitter. I am Julia Rosita because Twitter, my name was too long for Twitter. So there's that. Yeah, and that's mostly it. I have exhibits and things coming up. I haven't been posting on Instagram as much, but I'm going to be putting more content out there. So yeah, that's mostly it.
All right.
I don't know what else to say.
No, I'm very thankful you finally got to tell the story.
Yeah.
And I hope the listeners like it and hope that you're good with your words too as well.
Yeah.
So you told it in the best way you could. We was all over the place, but it was a great story.
But you know what? You knew the relationship.
Yes,
it was all over the place. So, and he was all over the place. I mean, it's kind of like in alignment with that. So chop and screw it how you need to.
Yes.
Cut out what you need to. I'm fine with that.
All right. Thank you, Shanelle. And that's been Views of an X.
Yeah.
We did it.